I'm not short. This is called Silver and Gold. Thank you. Thank you. What's your dad do was usually preceded by or followed by, my dad's better than your dad. About then no he's not, yes he is, conflict of opinion commenced. I could hold my own as the volume ratcheted up, right up until my adversary asked, how much does he make? At that point, I desperately searched for another reason my dad was better than his, and tried to steer the confab in that direction. There was no way $60 for a 7-day work week parking cars at Grossinger's Hotel could compete with, sometimes my dad makes $200 a week driving a tractor-trailer truck. When I stumbled, the other 7-year-old pounced, and the quarrel ended with him convinced of victory, his father the firm winner, the undisputed best. It wasn't that my dad was incapable or anything. He had married a farmer's daughter up in the North Country, but he wasn't a farmer, or a logger, or a hunter, or a truck driver, or even a northerner. He was a slightly built, soft-spoken, gentlemanly type, whose only personal contact with nature had come when it blocked his road during a hurricane. There just wasn't much for a prep school dandy from Central Florida to do up in the mountains except maybe park cars at a resort. Once or twice I asked Dad why he didn't make as much money as the other breadwinners. I cut him in his heart. Mom told me I did. If he was still here, I would tell him that I'm sorry, and maybe he'd say, it's okay, that was 60 years ago. But I know he would remember. Real hurt only goes away so much. He couldn't give my sister Vicky and me some of the neat new stuff the other kids got most of the time. But when Christmas morning rolled around, well, that was a different story. That was when Mom and Dad shined. We rose with the sun and went quickly to the living room, Vicky and I, ready to destroy the wrapping paper on the under-tree presents that we had been eyeing for days. It was just a matter of dragging the adult slackers out of bed and digging in. Invariably, we would find a couple of wonderful items that Santa Claus decided were too big to wrap. That's right, Santa Claus. If you don't believe me, you should ask my sister. It was Christmas time, 1959, and the Catholic priest in Youngsville had recently announced from the pulpit that Santa was not real. I wished we had skipped church that Sunday, but we didn't, and now it was too late. At 10 years old, I'd come to know the dark and unhappy truth. But Vicky was a mere 7 and was seriously conflicted about the priest inferring that her parents lie. I was determined that Father Grinch was not going to ruin her life, and so I looked for a plan. I stumbled upon the present that she asked for out in the shed. Dad had hidden her brand new sled behind some boxes, and I found it while nosing around. It looked like a pretty nice one, but I noticed a feature I had never seen. The runners were silver, not red, unlike every other sled in the universe. Perfect. That evening, I sidled up to her as she stood by a window and said, you know, if you wish upon the first star you see, Santa will hear you. She looked up and said, I wish for a new sled. Then I softly suggested, you should ask for one with silver runners, just to prove it's from Santa, which she did. Christmas morning, lo and behold, in all its unwrapped glory was the proof. Santa is real. Vicky had forgotten, and has to this day, that I planted thoughts in her ear. Over the years, she has chosen to keep quiet about that which she alone knows to be true. Her fellow grown-ups would not understand anyway, mainly because they are ignorant. Our dad gave us what he could, and maybe a little bit more. And in sacrificing for his kids, he gifted his little girl with something as good as gold, the knowledge of Santa Claus, which she has decided to keep into her old age, no matter what you say.